With rumors that NASCAR is going to release their schedule around August or so, and different other rumors flying around, I figured today is the perfect time to look into NASCAR's schedule, both for 2024 and beyond. Because there's a lot changing in NASCAR, and with the new TV rights deal coming up starting in 2025, there's going to be the possibility of opening up new avenues to different places of the world and so on and so forth. So let's start looking at what the schedule might be looking like coming soon. Well, let's get the stuff out of the way now that we know is coming back. Obviously, we know the date of the Daytona 500, the Coke 600, and the Southern 500. NASCAR isn't going to change those. COTA is coming back, and it looks like they're going to put the Chicago Street Race on the schedule for 2024 as it runs through 2025 with the contract and possibly 27. Whether or not Chicago stays after the city government deliberates on it and Chicagoland comes on, or maybe another, who knows? But for now, that is the plan. As for some of the big changes that might be coming, well, the first one is Bristol Dirt. What's the rumor on this one? Well, it won't be on Easter, that's for sure, because it sounds like Easter's race will be North Wilkesboro. Now, whether or not North Wilkesboro keeps the All-Star race is still up for question. I know a lot of rumors floated around that they would get a points race and the All-Star race, but it's something we'll have to find out. I don't personally think they can handle two races in that area so close together in the season, as Easter this year is the last day of March, and, well, the All-Star race is not even 2 months later. But what we should see in this, too, is that Bristol Dirt and possibly the Bristol Spring race may be axed altogether. You see, I'm going to be real with you. I like the Bristol Dirt race, but I'm not going to be heartbroken if it's gone. I've lived without dirt in NASCAR for almost my entire life as a fan, and it's not going to be the end of the world if after a 3-year experiment, which in my opinion I thought got better as every year went on, if NASCAR says it didn't and cuts it out from there. I know a lot of fans aren't happy with it, but that is what it is. But based on what Jordan Bianchi says, it sounds like the Bristol Spring date is done. And that includes possible concrete not being an option either. And with that too, that does leave the fact that there will be the Easter race. I know a lot of fans don't like that, but personally, every other sport goes on holidays. Why does NASCAR have to be different in that respect when it's obvious that audiences will zone in on sports, especially if you time it at the right time and have the right venue? So I don't think it's the end of the world. Now, another one that's been rumored is Rockingham. The rumor is that NASCAR could come back. Whether it's Cup, Xfinity, or trucks is yet to be seen, but I would assume it's bigger than trucks after what happened last time, which was a failure. Not having to do with the attendance, but more the people who ran the track at the time. But those who run the track now have said that they've talked to everybody. While I assume that means we're definitely having a Formula One race at Rockingham sometime soon, that probably also means NASCAR too. You see, the North Carolina government put money towards 3 different tracks: North Wilkesboro Speedway, Charlotte Motor Speedway, and Rockingham. And I don't think they're putting money up for Rockingham to have local races or even just local late models. I think they're trying to get series like the Cars Tour to be there on a regular basis and NASCAR to be there. And I think it's going to happen soon. Does it happen in 24? Maybe. There's been enough talk about it, and they've been trying to get some outreach, so I wouldn't be surprised, as it does seem like while NASCAR's trying to expand, they are trying to solidify that core North Carolina or Carolina base in the Southeast that they used to have. They made the mistake back in the 90s of getting away from it when they did expansion. Maybe they're trying to learn from it. Who knows? And another piece of the Southern core audience would be the Nashville Fairgrounds. SMI is still working on the Speedway and having the deal put together with it, but it seems like the Nashville mayor is probably going to push it through. And while people in government aren't too happy about it, probably because they're not getting a cut of it, it seems like those in the community are starting to get more behind it. While there is a very loud but vocal minority, they were the minority of people. A lot of people either don't care or are cool with it. It brings more of an economic impact to the city of Nashville. The problem is right now they need major overhauls in both the track itself and the infrastructure of parking around it. Why? Well, they've been having issues with parking and traffic with crowds well under 10,000 people there. And NASCAR wants to bring 30,000 there. While this would be less people, it would be a very similar situation to that of the Nashville Superspeedway as well as the Kentucky Speedway, both of which have had major parking problems and have been very much shown to the public. And I don't think when they're trying to stay at this track for possibly 30 years that NASCAR wants the Nashville Fairgrounds to start out on that bad of a basis, especially since it only takes a couple bad events to turn a community that's probably very much for it against it. But what has caught the ears and honestly the attention for the most part of a lot of people isn't these things. It's the fact that NASCAR might go international. And this is done in multiple ways possibly, one of which seems very realistic for next year. That is going to Montreal. It looks very likely for 2024, and not just for the Xfinity Series. From what it sounds like, it almost seems like a done deal that the Cup Series will be racing in Canada for, I believe, the first time ever. And I think that this is actually a really good move. While I am not a full-on expansionist wanting NASCAR to go to every single country around the world Formula One style, I do think that Canada deserves a date on the schedule. They have a very, albeit smaller base than America, obviously, being an American sport with NASCAR, but they do have a very die-hard racing base up there, and a base that has been clamoring for Cup races for years. Anyone remember the Canadian Motor Speedway that was supposed to be built about a decade or so ago? I think that NASCAR can capitalize on this, and I think that they can have a great base there and start that international expansion, slowly but surely, while not killing the pocketbooks of all of the team owners. But the big talk is overseas. NASCAR had run the Garage 56 entry at Le Mans this past weekend, and a lot of people took notice of it. And from what it sounds like, Ben Kennedy is already looking at the 25 through 27 schedules for NASCAR and wanting to expand internationally. And it's been rumored that NASCAR officials have met with different entities and governments in the Middle East about having races there. And let's just read between the lines here. If it's going to be somewhere in the Middle East, it's more than likely going to be Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has been sports washing as of recently, which, for those of you who don't know, is really just using sports to kind of sanitize or make themselves seem friendlier. Basically, it's what political regimes do when they know the world doesn't like them, but they need to seem squeaky clean to people. Different entities like the CCP, USSR, and Nazi Germany have done the same thing. And while that's not the only types of countries who have tried to use sports to change their image, it's very similar to what they've done is what Saudi Arabia is doing. So personally, I'm not a fan of it. Look at Live Golf versus the PGA. Live Golf was founded in 2021, and the Saudis put tons and tons of money into it, getting different golfers, honestly, for just smaller scale events. But because of that, they outpriced the PGA and now are merging, meaning that their government is going to have more saying power with what the PGA does, or if it's Live PGA, I don't know how they'll do it. Also, you see what the NBA has done with China, and the fact that the Chinese government has a lot to say in what the players say and do when it comes to their international relations. Same with F1 and WWE with Saudi Arabia as well. There are tons of different countries around the world that I think would be a good fit for NASCAR. Different ones that entities like the NFL have tried to expand into in Europe. And I think that would honestly be a better plan to start with. Now I want to hear what you think. What crazy changes do you want NASCAR to do in the coming years? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support, and be sure to watch the NASCAR Weekly Podcast tonight on Black Flags Matters channel. We will talk all about this and everything else in the world of NASCAR. So, until then, have a good one.